Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first item on our agenda is not the approval of our agenda, but it's a proclamation. And I would like to present this proclamation of the town of Edgewood declaring the month of May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in the town of Edgewood. Whereas motorcycles are used as a regular means of transportation for commuting, touring, and recreation in and around the Edgewood and New Mexico, and whereas the Edgewood scenic roadways make motorcycling very popular for riders from around the country, and whereas the safe operation of a motorcycle requires the use of acquired skills developed through a combination of training and experience, the use of good judgment, and through knowledge of traffic laws, licensing, and requirements, and whereas it is imperative that the residents of Edgewood be aware, show consideration, and share the road with motorcycles on the streets and highways, and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety, and whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has declared May as Motorcycle Awareness Month, it is the desire of the town of Edgewood to join with NHTSA in raising awareness of the growing number of motorcyclists on Edgewood's roadways in order to help prevent accidents and, most importantly, save lives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Pro Tem John Abrams, hereby proclaim the month of May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Edgewood, and urge our citizens to be observant, courteous, and knowledgeable about motorcycle usage in our community. Thank you. Next is approval of our agenda. I would move to approve this evening's agenda. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Do I hear any discussion? No discussion? I'll call for a vote. Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We have an agenda. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda?
I would like to make a motion, or just ask, I guess we don't need a motion for this, to pull A, B, C, and E out separately from the consent agenda, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, holding off items A, B, C, and E.
Right.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
I will vote aye in the hopes that some of these get approved.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
I will go along with this. Aye as well. Discussion on item A.
Okay, for this one, I would like to make a motion to disapprove the council meeting minutes for November 2nd, 2020 for gross inaccuracies.
Councilor Jaramillo, before I continue to ask for a second, I will caution you about making a motion in the negative.
According to the Open Meetings Act, these are the three avenues
I
to
know.
take with the minutes, and so you can approve, disapprove, or amend. And I am making a motion to disapprove, but I do understand sometimes motions in the negative can get confusing on other items.
Do I hear a second to disapprove item A?
Second.
I hear a motion and a second to disapprove item A. I call for a vote. Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Nay.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
I vote nay as well. This motion dies for lack of a majority. Item B, council meeting minutes for March 10th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve with amendments.
Okay.
Second.
I don't hear any amendments. Councilor Jaramillo.
Thank you. I make a motion. Let me see. I have just 2 amendments on this one.
Councilor, perhaps what you can do is think about the possibility of retracting your motion and making a motion to table and submitting your edits and bringing this back.
Okay, that's fine for expediency. Then I will make a motion to.
So do you withdraw? You withdraw your original motion? Thank you.
Yes, I will withdraw my motion, and I make a motion to table these meeting minutes for March 10th, 2021, March 24th, 2021, and April 14th, 2021.
So you would like to make a motion for items B, C, and E to table them for more work.
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table items B, C, and E from the consent agenda, meeting minutes for March 10th, March 24th, and April 14th. How do you vote? Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
I'll take them back for work. I'll vote aye as well. Next item on the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted a quick comment on the consent agenda items that we didn't have discussion on. I just wanted to thank all the department heads for providing these. It is helpful information. And also thank you to the chief for providing training to our officers and to the community as well. I just want to recognize them for all of their hard work that they do throughout all of the departments, and it's really helpful information to the community, not just us. So for those of the public that are here, the department reports, I think, are very useful if you ever want to take a look at them in the packet. Thank you.
Moving on, discussion and action items. Item A, continued discussion and consideration on districting for the town of Edgewood. At this particular point, we can ask for any public comment regarding districting for the town of Edgewood. I see a great number of callers on here. And we will do this as we have in past meetings. I will ask that each caller be unmuted. If you could identify yourself and whether or not you have a comment regarding districting. Caller number 4, you're unmuted. Please identify yourself and whether you would like to comment on districting this evening. Caller number 4.
Sean.
Sean, I did not.
Nothing.
I did not hear you. Try again, please.
This is Sean, and I have no comment on the redistricting.
Thank you, Sean. Caller number 5. Caller number 5, you're unmuted.
Cheryl Hubbard.
Ms. Hubbard, do you have a comment? Do you have a comment on districting, Ms. Hubbards?
Yes, I just like number A of the ones that were presented. It seemed to be the most evenly distributed, just from what I was looking at.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbards. Thank you. Caller number 6, would you wish to comment on districting?
It's Martha Eden. No, I have no comment on districting.
Thank you, Ms. Eden. Caller number 7, you're unmuted. Would you identify yourself, please, and if you have a comment on districting this evening?
You're unmuted.
I didn't hear
Hello?
Yes? Caller number 7?
Have a comment on this.
Who are we speaking with, please? Hello?
Was that Mr. Seegers?
Oh, okay.
Sounded like Mr. Seegers. Is
Wasn't
that-
clear.
Mr. Seegers, do you have a
I have
comment
no
on
comment.
No comment on districting?
No, I do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seegers.
Okay, is it?
Caller number 8.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is Karen Kaiser.
Yes, Ms.
And
Kaiser.
I just wanted a quick congratulations that you guys have reached this point, and pretty quickly. This is a big day for Edgewood, a big change, and I don't know, I find it exciting. But like Ms. Hubbard's, I really think Plan A is the one with the least amount of deviation, and it just makes the most sense the way the boundaries go. When I look at Plan B and C, some of the little things that got carved out to me seem to violate that communities of interest that Mr. Sharp spoke about. But I did have a question. I was kind of hoping Mr. Sharp would be here. I'm sure I can't be the only person who's noticed in the news that the 2020 census data has been released. We're hearing of certain states in our country have picked up congressional seats, and I read that New Mexico's population has declined by nearly 9%. So knowing that that data is out for all of those decisions, I mean, something as important as adding a House of Representative member, I think Texas picked up 2, why is it not available for this process right now so that you don't have to do this again in 2022?
Well,
That is my question. And I mean, I hope you'll address it to Mr. Sharp, because Google it. The data's out. It's all over the news, 2020 census data. And if I could just say one more thing, I don't know what changed, but the video that we are seeing is spectacular. It's as clear as if I was in the room with y'all, and kudos to whoever changed the program. It's really excellent. So thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome, and the kudos you just gave to Jesus, our IT guy, who is sitting, I think, behind Mr. Torres. And we do have Mr. Sharp here with us this evening, and he has heard your question. I will go ahead and allow Mr. Sharp to answer that question for you, and then we can move on to the next caller. Mr. Sharp?
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. For some reason, my camera isn't liking me right now, so hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, first of all, the data that was released on Monday of this week is what we call the apportionment data, and that's the official population counts for every state in the United States, and only at the state level, and its sole purpose is to determine how many representatives every state receives. And so you may have, like the caller said, Ms. Kaiser said, some states have lost representatives on the congressional side, and others have gained. And so I don't need to share quite yet, but others have gained. We, as a state, did pick up about 56,000 people over the past 10 years. And let's see. Oops. And that's so we grew about 2.8% over the past 10 years. The normal process with respect to the release of the census data is the apportionment data comes out first, and then in normal years, 2 to 3, maybe 4 months later, the data we need to redistrict local governments is then released. So in normal times, the apportionment data at the state level, like we had on Monday, would have been released in March, and in December. My bad. Would have been released in December of in normal years, and then the data we need for redistricting would have been released in March. So in a perfect world, we would have had the apportionment data in December of 2020 and the redistricting data in March of 2021. But because of COVID, the collection of the census data and the processing of the census data has been pushed back by quite a bit for about 4 months for apportionment, and then another 3 to 4 months after apportionment. So to really answer your question succinctly now, it's the data we need for redistricting should come out sometime. We're thinking maybe the latter half of August, maybe into September. So that's the data we'll need at the levels of geography that will be needed for Edgewood. But the data for smaller units of geography that we need is just not out there yet. The only data is state level data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. I hope that adequately answered that question. And thank you, Ms. Kaiser. I believe we are on caller number 9 now. Caller number 9, you're unmuted. If you could identify yourself and if you wish to speak about districting. Caller number 9, is there anyone there? Hello? I don't hear anybody at caller number 9, so we'll move on to caller 10. If you could identify yourself and if you wish to speak to districting. Caller number 10. I don't hear anyone at caller number 10. We'll move on. Caller number 11. If you could identify yourself and if you wish to speak regarding districting. Caller number 11. I don't hear one at 11. Let's try caller number 12. Caller number 12. Hello? I don't hear anyone at caller number 12. Caller number 13. If you could identify yourself and if you wish to speak to district.
Yeah, this is Phil Anaya.
Hi, Phil Anaya. Mr. Anaya, do you wish to speak regarding districting?
I do. I would like to talk about actually a number of things, and start off with the commission management form requires districting, but whether commissioners would be elected at large or by district is one of the questions that I'm sure is going to be discussed by the governing body tonight. And if they do, I would kind of like to hope that I could speak on that a little later on. And according to Mr. Sharp's data, which was reliant on the 2010 census, the town is about, 5,884 in population. Edgewood District has an idea population of around 1,100. The 3 plans proposed by RP Research and Polling each varies from a number of various degrees. A plan A being close to ideal. Well, in my eyes, I don't think so. I believe that I am being targeted. I had called Michael and questioned him as to why my neighborhood was placed across Edgewood 7 on the west side, and asked who had told him or guided him to do so. I know that you know that I am running for a seat on the commission. So I believe, again, that these need to be at-large districts, and meaning that everybody should vote until the new census come out, which we know are not going to meet the standards of 10,000. And Mayor Pro Tem, you said that on Plan A, on one of your remarks from the prior meeting, logically borders and does not spread any district across I-40. But if you look at Plan A, look at also on District 4, it does cross I-40. So my question is, and I hope that you guys would answer this a little later on, or even now, is why is it that my neighborhood is being moved on all of the plans? Why am I being punished and going over across Edgewood 7? Thank you. I hope you guys answer these questions a little later on.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilor Jaramillo.
could I have Mr. Sharp clarify for us, is that neighborhood that Mr. Anaya is referring to, does that pick up the whole neighborhood? It's so hard for me to tell because there's this little L-shaped thing, street, and I'm wondering if that's Tenorio Court, or I can't tell if it's picking up that whole area or if it's cut just a little to the west.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Jaramillo. So the boundary does follow Calle Encantada over to Tenorio Drive, and then east a little bit to the old Edgewood city limits or town limits, and then down into the west to Edgewood Road. So those people on the north side of Encantada, on the north part of that loop, are in District 4. The people on the inside of the loop and the southern side are all in 5s.
Does it make sense to just, I mean, why on the north and south side of the same little area? That doesn't make sense to me.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Jaramillo, so that's a function of the census geography that we are, I would say this, stuck with, for lack of a better word, the census geography that we need to work with in order to build the districts. Unfortunately, there's not a really good census line or census block that allows us to take both sides of Calle Encantada and put it into District 5 without the population going, above 5% or plus 5%. So it's a function of primarily geography and the building blocks that we have to use. We just don't have a really good building block in that area that lets us isolate just those folks on the northern side of Calle Encantada and put them into 5.
Okay. So are they in different, Mr. Anaya's area of where he's at? I don't know exactly where it is on here, but are they in different districts and different plans? Or, I was just kind of hoping that it would be a logical line for the neighborhood of the street instead of cutting off in the middle of, one street over here and then over here. I mean, it's just a little confusing to me because I can see that little L that goes down. So are they, I guess there's two questions. Can you make it more uniform, number one? And number two, is his area of neighborhood different districts and different plans?
Okay, Councilor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Jaramillo. I believe in 2 of the plans, A and C, has that same alignment for Mr. Anaya's, that neighborhood, the Calle Encantada area. Plan B is a little bit different in that it takes the area, I guess, south of Calle Encantada down to the current town of Edgewood limits. And so it basically starts at Calle Encantada and goes all the way south. This is in Plan B. Let me see if I can share this real quick.
Okay, so you're saying that in A and C, they're in 4, and in B, they're in 5.
So in B, those folks south, that are kind of between the old Edgewood town and limits and the new town limits, closer to the hillside. So those folks, I guess what you're calling the L, maybe, the south of Calle Encantada in that neighborhood, those people are in District 5 in Plan B, and Plan A and C, they're in 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oops.
And then I guess my second question was on A and C. There's that, it's actually upside down L, with that particular neighborhood. Is there a way just to box it, make it a box, just so that it's logical for people, so they don't have to say, if I'm on the north side or the south side, they will just know that that whole street or that whole cul-de-sac or whatever it is would be in one or the other?
Councilor Jaramillo, unfortunately not really. So you can see in Plan B, that should be on your screen now,
Yeah.
that that block that goes very far east, that's one single unit of geography. That's one single census block, and there's no real way to, I'm going to say, cut that off in the middle.
No, I meant on A and C. It's picking up only. Okay, can you see the green where the green meets the purple? There's that little upside down L. It just doesn't seem logical why one little street would be left out, because if it's a neighborhood, right? Do you see that? Where to the east?
Okay, so I see. Oh, I think I see what you're talking about. The upside down
right
L.
there.
Yeah.
That's it. So I was just curious if that could be made a block for that neighborhood, just to logically make it easier for them. But I mean, there can't be that many homes on that little upside down L there.
So in that upside down L, I'm going to go back to B real quick. In order to pull in that upside down L, we need to do something like what we have in Plan B.
Oh, why do you have to take it all?
Because it's basically one unit of geography that extends from the whole area that goes east almost to I-40. That's one single unit of geography that goes from the eastern side all the way to Edgewood, and it picks up the L, but it also goes all the way over to Edgewood Road. So it goes from Edgewood Road all the way east to kind of that little green spot, that green extension, the east part of that green extension. That's one unit of geography that we can't really split.
Oh, okay. Is it because it's a census tract or something, and we have to keep the tracts, the geographical tracts together or something?
It's called a smaller unit of geography than a census tract. So the census tracts will go, the levels of geography will go from counties. Counties are divided into census tracts. Then the census tracts are divided into census block groups. And then the census block groups are divided into census blocks. And so we're actually going down to that smallest unit of census blocks. And sometimes the word census block is people think, I think in the middle of Albuquerque, it's pretty straightforward. It's just bounded by streets. But in places where that's not as simple, it gets more complicated, and block can be defined by municipal limits, other types of geography, and they're not necessarily as small as we think of, in terms of what you're asking to do. But in this particular case, if there had been a block boundary to use to make that look a lot better, to put in that upside down L into District 5, I would have done it. But unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck with using that particular census block that does make it look a little different.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I didn't realize that there were some neighborhoods that were literally cut up by census blocks, especially when it's just such a small road there. That just seems odd. But thank you for letting us know about that.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. I believe we were at caller 14, but we have lost caller 14. So we'll move on to caller 15. Caller 15. Could you identify yourself?
Hi,
Go ahead.
this is Linda Burke.
Hello, Ms. Burke. Do you wish to speak on districting this evening?
I think my only comment really is just to say that, the desire would be to follow as simple a plan as possible and keep neighborhoods as intact as possible, and just make it easy for this new concept to be something the people of Edgewood can digest and adapt to. And looking at the three plans, to me it seems like, as you've mentioned in the past, like Plan A probably seems the closest to the areas that people would traditionally consider themselves a part of in the town of Edgewood.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. We have one more caller number 16.
I move that over here.
I can't. I don't know how. I can't imagine how.
Caller number 16.
Oh, wait.
Caller number 16, do you wish to speak on this? I don't hear anything from caller number 16. I believe that's all of the callers. We will go ahead and move then from public comment regarding districting of the town of Edgewood to discussion by councilors regarding districting from the town of Edgewood. Councilors, how do you wish to proceed? I'm not hearing anything from you, councilors. If we would like to move on to action, selecting a proposal, we can certainly do so.
I don't mind jumping in here. I just wanted to let you guys know I reached out with phone calls, emails, Nextdoor, Facebook, just trying to get more public input and opinions on the districts. And I would say that the majority of them, if I counted them all up, probably were in favor of A. And there were some for B, and of course a lot of people put A/C because they're very similar. So I think that was what I heard feedback from the public, and tonight as well with our callers. So
thank you, Councilor Jaramillo. Do any of the councilors have any other questions for Mr. Sharp this evening?
I have no other questions. I appreciate the opportunity to look at this 3 times and have public comment those many times as well. So I'm ready to take action.
Councilor Abraham?
I think we've done a pretty good job keeping all the districts close to basically they're all very close in same size, and as far as population, I also have not heard anyone really strongly against any of these plans. I think, they seem to agree that it's been a good process, and they're just looking to move forward. The one comment I do keep hearing is the question about voting at large. So as far as the district cutoffs, I don't think they have any real concerns about those. So yeah, I'm also ready to move forward with selecting a plan.
Well, we have items B and C, and if the council will consent, we can consider selecting a plan and taking action to adopt it all in one thing and roll B and C into the same item. Do I hear any objection to doing that?
Explain to me why they are separate.
It's to allow us, if we were to make any modifications to the plans that have been presented, but I haven't heard any real, need for making modifications. I too have been asking folks with regard to how they feel about the plans, and I too have heard mostly that Plan A seems to be the most equitable, the most evenly divided. And yes, I've heard a couple of comments about the little green blurb as well. So I don't think we need to discuss anything further about our previous meetings. I mean, we've pretty much come forward now. I've seen this now published, not only on the town's website, but I believe the newspaper as well had copies of the maps published. I would actually, at this particular point, entertain action, and I'll start by making a motion to adopt Plan A as the districting plan for the town of Edgewood and see where we go.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion, councilors?
I was curious about the at-large versus single-member districting. What the next step is on that?
Well, the first step is to adopt a plan, and then we move forward with the process. That process includes a proclamation for an election, and we'll see what we can bring forward as quickly as we can with that. I believe that's due, I can't remember when that's due. I don't have the document in front of me to tell you exactly the date. I know the date for filing for candidacy is August 24th, so we have to have the proclamation in approximately...
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes?
the proclamation will be issued by Santa Fe County.
Oh, the proclamation will be issued by Santa Fe County. It will not be issued by us.
We already, if I may, we already submitted the election resolution
Okay.
As required after the election.
Okay.
And since we're no longer running the election, Santa Fe County will now issue the election proclamation since they are running the election.
I see. Okay.
I do have a question on that. When I was looking at that resolution, it looks like we failed to include the judge on the next election, a municipal judge. We called for 5 commissioners, but we did not call for the election of a municipal judge.
That I'm being told that is true, so we will have to address that. But tonight, on our agenda, we have adoption of a districting plan, so let's see if we can move on.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
I just, maybe I could ask the clerk because he knows about the proclamation piece of it. How do we give instruction to Santa Fe County on at-large or single-member district voting? How do we do that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor, that is a great question. From what I can look at in the state laws, it makes no mention of that. It calls out in, I believe, 314.6. I'm not sure on the one switching to commission manager. It talks about that the governing body may choose at large or something along those lines. I don't recall exactly what it says. But But then when it goes to the election side of it, they got rid of everything in the municipal election code, and so now it all falls to what the county operates under. And as far as I know, there's no mechanism in there which states that. But I'm not too versed on Chapter 1 of NMSA.
So it sounds to me like we have a little bit of research to do and can come back to you, Counselor.
Okay, I'm just concerned about when is the county going to do their proclamation?
It won't be for several months, I would imagine. It usually is, what is it? Is it 90 days or is it 60 days?
Local Election Act. I can't remember the PowerPoint ahead of me, but I think it's either 90.
I think. Well, yeah, they can't. You can't have a proclamation within 120 days of a general election or 70 days of a special election. So the earliest it could be, I guess, would be in August sometime.
Just to, I think I read, or I know that I read the statute last time, and it says that the governing body, if the town is under 10,000, which we are, may choose single-member districts. So according to the county clerk, the default is at large. So it's a really important topic that I don't want to let go by, and that's why I want to make sure we're really clear on that. The commission manager statute is different than the LEA.
Counselor, we're not making a decision on this tonight. We do know we need to deal with this, and we definitely need more information and input both from the county clerk and perhaps even the Secretary of State. So I will definitely look into this further and see where we are. But tonight, we do need to move forward. We have a motion and a second to adopt Plan A as the district.
Did you request it from her already?
No, ma'am, I have not, but I certainly will.
Well, you have mentioned the AG, so I didn't know if you had already requested something from
not the
one of the
Attorney General's
agencies.
office. This would be the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is responsible for elections for the state. The Attorney General, if he's got any input, that it would be just a commentary on the law. The Secretary of State is the chief elections official for the state. And
in my experience, they like to say, "Oh, it's that agency's responsibility." No, it's that agency's responsibility.
Well, we'll see. Like I said, I will pursue it in all kinds of different directions and see what the answers are, and I will bring them forward.
All right,
to you.
thank you.
In the meantime, do we have any further discussion on Plan A, or are we ready to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
I hear no further discussion. Councillor Abraham, how do you vote?
Aye for Plan A.
And Councillor Hawley?
Aye.
And Councillor Jaramillo?
Aye.
We have 3 votes aye. We have actually 4 votes aye. Thank you, Council. We have adopted a districting plan for the town of Edgewood for the first time in its history. So we have adopted the plan, and we should probably also adopt the map, because I didn't say that in my in my motion. But I make a motion to adopt the map for Plan A. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I don't know if that was Councillor Abraham or Councillor Hawley. I will give that one to Councillor Abraham as well. Councillor Hawley, how do you vote on adopting the map?
Aye.
Councillor Abraham, how do you vote on adopting the map?
Aye.
Councillor Jaramillo, how do you vote on adopting the map?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We have adopted the plan and the map. Thank you, Council. Next is discussion, consideration, and action on the recommendation of myself to hire Ilya Aksenov. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Mr. Aksenov, as a police officer for the town of Edgewood. Do I hear a motion?
Could we have him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself?
We certainly can. We generally begin with a motion and a second, but I will allow it. Go ahead. Ilya, you are on. We can't hear you, sir. Your microphone is unmuted, but you are not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can hear you now, certainly.
Okay, sorry about that. It's a new system. I'm used to Zoom. My name is Ilya Aksionov. I'm currently working with the Santa Fe Police Department. I'm excited to make this transition into Edgewood. A little bit about me. I've traveled everywhere. I lived everywhere. I've lived in New York, in California, in New Mexico, and Russia, and been all over. And I'm pretty good with adapting and talking to people, and just being able to communicate, which I think is really important for a police officer, communication.
How did you come to Edgewood?
So I live in Moriarty. I actually travel to Edgewood quite a bit. Obviously Smith's and Walmart, and I could do my grocery shopping there. And every time I'm there, I like the community. All the officers I spoke with speak highly of the community, how the community supports law enforcement. That's something that I like to be a part of.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other?
Mr. Pro Tem, I make a motion to hire Mr. Ilya Ashkenov.
I will second. I will go ahead and call for a vote.
Give you a nickname like Officer OK or something like that? IK?
Officer A.
Officer A, that's fine. Everybody in Santa Fe calls me Axe. All the judges and everything know me by Axe, so you guys can, that's totally fine by me.
All right. I will call for a vote. Councillor Holly, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Councillor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Councillor Abraham?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Welcome aboard, Ilya.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
I look forward to meeting you in person. Next on our agenda, we have discussion, consideration, and action on Resolution 2021-06, a resolution authorizing the assignment of authorized officers and agents. And when we move forward with this, I'll ask Mr. Torres to address this one before we make a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, councilors. So this is the basically the acceptance and signing the authorized users for the $750,000 we received last year from the legislature. So New Mexico Environment Department requires this. I think if you recall in the last few authorizations as well, we've done this as well, where we assign the mayor, or in this case Mayor Pro Tem, to sign and accept the grant agreement authorizing the funds to the town, and then myself and Carla as the representatives who can complete all the other paperwork, fill out the monthly reports and send stuff in, and then also myself to update the CPMS database monthly, just to update on our project statuses. And so this is not assigning a project or anything to the wastewater plant. This is just to accept, or to allow the Mayor Pro Tem to accept the funding and then authorize us to complete any necessary paperwork for it.
Okay, my question is, once we receive the funding, what did we ask for it for? I mean, you know, if this is from what we received from last year, because we also looks like we were awarded $950,000 for this year. What kind of backup? I mean, we must have had some things that we asked for a specific amount of money for. What were those?
Yes, so Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor, this was all for, I guess on this one, it was to finish up everything off of the tech memo and make the necessary plant improvements, working with the SCADA, I think adding the grit removal system, and we're getting the fine screens in now, but this was like the grit removal system, things of that nature that were called out in the tech memo. And just other plant improvements. So once again, we'll have to bring those forward and have you guys approve any projects to move forward with it. The $900,000 this year that we received this year is going to hopefully be to put in another containment pond and potentially put in another train or something like that. But once again, that'll come before you, the governing body, at a later date once there's a actual project ready to go.
Can we attach something on the back of this just that kind of clarifies what we asked this for? Because if somebody looks in the future, they're not going to have a clue what this SAP 20. I know we used to have to like describe what we were asking for.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Abraham, so there was something when we filled out the capital outlay requests, we did specify like, you know, the plant improvements, improving the SCADA control system, the grit removal. I mean, those were all included on that ask. Once again, this is just between the town and the Environment Department, because unlike the other projects where DFA or DOT might be the oversight agency, this one's NMED, and NMED always requires us for the authorization of signature authority. But you, as the governing body, of course, you can add whichever you like to your resolutions and ordinances.
I would like to add that we have some kind of backup which describes, I mean, this doesn't even say what amount of money it has on there.
No.
It doesn't even have a dollar amount on there. So I would like to have maybe just a little bit more detail attached to this. Before we approve it.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Abraham. So it does specify the NMED project number, which is the SAP 20 E3234-GF. So that's general fund, and it's the legislative appropriation, and so that is available. Anyone can go look at that publicly and see what that amount is. But
if you could just attach it as an attachment to this resolution, I would feel much more comfortable with that. As backup detail.
Are you talking about the legislative language, Councilor Abraham?
Yes.
The bill itself, maybe, or is there something else, Juan, from NMED that specifies for this grant?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Jaramillo, so they don't give us anything. I mean, I guess we've got some Excel spreadsheets that they'll send us to confirm if we want the funding when appropriation time comes around. But other than the bill, we really don't have anything. The bill, which has also the capital outlay listing for everyone, we don't really have anything from NMED until we actually sign documentation, and then we'll have all the documentation. We'll have the full grant agreement, which has everything laid out in it.
And will that be attached to this when we get it?
If that's what you guys would like to do.
I would prefer just a list, like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that.
I think in order to accept the grant, this is the boilerplate language. Once we accept the grant, then we have all of the documentation of the grant. We can certainly include it in a file But we don't have that documentation. The only thing we have is the capital outlay request.
We have not approved any projects yet.
Right. No, we haven't.
Right.
But we just asked for money to improve the sewer plant. We know what improvements need to be made. This is just accepting the grant that we've been offered.
Right, but I'm looking at the capital outlay request that I found online for this year, and it actually says Edgewood wastewater treatment plant construction. Edgewood pedestrian bridge and trail construction. That's all I'm asking. This doesn't even have a dollar amount on it, and I would just like something attached that says what the dollar amount is and what we asked for. What were we awarded money for?
Mayor Pro
Did
Tem,
they just
Council-
give us a blank check?
Well, as I stated earlier, we asked our legislature, our representatives and senators, if they would give us money to improve the wastewater treatment plant. And I believe on the capital outlay
Right.
request forms we submitted specifically for wastewater treatment plant improvements, including the SCADA upgrade, fine grit removal, things of that nature. I mean, that was on the capital outlay request, but that language isn't on the bill. I think, like Councilor Adamina was saying, like the bill kind of lists out what you just showed us. That's pretty much what the bill language says. I think what you have is an Excel version, but it shows the amount awarded, and so.
Maybe just adding in, it says for this project, but we don't even know what this project is, so I think that might be what's, nebulous. We could say, for the funding provided by HB, whatever it is.
And the dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need is the dollar amount and
the source of the funding.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
That's smart because, I know there's this other project number, which I don't even know why we have a project number if we haven't approved a project, but...
Mayor Council, so that's NMED's.
That's
NMED's
NMED's language. That's not ours.
Yeah.
They call all of their legislative appropriations projects. And then the funding source on this one is identified as GF versus severance tax bond. So usually, most of the time, they're STBs. This one's GF. And if you recall, last year we actually received, I want to say, 940-some thousand, and then it was cut back to 750
right.
because we were given above
So I
our
would
initial
like-
ask.
I would just like some clarification on here. That's all I'm asking for.
So, Councilor, can you specify what you would like on here, please?
I would like to have the dollar amount and a list of the projects requested when we submitted the request.
Well, I think that we need to be careful to not box ourselves into anything in particular that may have been requested that wasn't necessarily the legislative intent that came out the other side, right? The input could be different than the output from the legislature. So I think that it's wise to reference the bill's language, but not necessarily like the ICIP and all of that, because we don't, that may not have been what the legislature voted on.
That's why the intent of this language is to reference the project, and the project has within it the dollar amount, and it has the general description of what the funds should be used for. That's why it's assigned a project number by the Environment Department. This is just to allow us to accept that there is an agreement that we will agree to use those funds for this project. So the reference number
Can we just attach?
contains
Sorry.
the reference number contains all that information if you go and research that number. the SAP 20-E
Okay, so all I'm asking is we attach a copy of that to this resolution as backup.
Okay, I don't have a copy of it here in front of me, but we can certainly do that, Counselor.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I wanted to make the same comment that Councilor Jaramillo did. I don't want to box ourselves in. It seems to me in the past administration where we got money to pave a road, we had enough to go further, but we had limited ourselves in the description and we couldn't use the rest of the funds. So I think if this is all that NMED is requiring, I think I'd rather do that so we don't box ourselves in.
Okay, well, the difference was that was a GEO bond that was approved by voters, and this is money that's been appropriated to us. If NMED knows what this amount of money is and what we've requested it for, then I don't see there's any reason why we shouldn't have that as an attachment to this resolution.
Have you found it?
I don't think that boxes us in. I think NMED already knows what the amount is and what it's intended for, and I'm just asking for it to be attached as backup.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem and councilors, I will make a motion. I know we already have the motion and second to approve the resolution, don't we already?
We do not.
No.
Oh, we don't yet? Okay.
No, we got a little ahead of ourselves.
Okay. I was like, did we do that? So I will make a motion to approve Town of Edgewood Resolution number 2021-06 as long as we have the attachment, or I'll just say with the attachment of the details of this project number SAP 20-E 3234-GF and dollar amount listed attached to this resolution for the record.
I don't have a problem with that. That sounds like we have a motion and a second. Councilor Abraham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We have passed resolution number 2021-06, authorizing the assignment of officers and agents for a grant from NMED. We will find and attach whatever documents, and they will be filed along with this resolution. Thank you, Council.
There was also a typo in the first sentence that says Edgewood OD, the state of New Mexico, as opposed to OF of.
We can change. We can make a change of the F.
And then, Mr. Torres, where it talks about you, the clerk, treasurer, or successor, is the official representative. Just get rid of the S.
Yes. Keep in mind, like Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Abrams said, this was boilerplate from NMED. We didn't really make any changes
We didn't.
to it.
This was sent to us from them. This is their deal. And we have approved it. And next on our agenda, we have discussion, consideration, and action on approval of the issuing an RFP for lodger's tax. Council, before you have a resolution, and it is for, let's see, how shall I do this? Shall I read this aloud, or are you comfortable with what we have here? I guess I could read it aloud. It is the intent of the Town of Edgewood to enter into one or more contracts for an aggregate sum of up to $15,000 for the period of July through December 2021 for the following purposes: advertising, promoting tourist facilities, events through the design, production, placement of media advertisement, the establishing, operating, constructing, purchasing, or otherwise acquiring reconstructing, bettering, or otherwise improving, equipping, and furnishing tourism facilities owned by the municipality, providing police and fire protection and sanitation services for tourist-related events in the area. The request for funding will be evaluated based on eligibility and feasibility by the Lodgers Tax Board. The Town of Edgewood will act on the Lodgers Tax Board recommendations for the funding. The Town of Edgewood will accept proposals submitted for the expenditure of Lodgers Tax funding until 5 p.m. on May 30th of 2021. Proposals are to be submitted to Carla Salazar, Deputy Clerk of the Town of Edgewood, P.O. Box 3610 Edgewood, New Mexico 87015, or via email to clerk@edgewood-nm.gov. Funding proposals for events must include an affirmation that the events will follow the public health order and guidelines issued by the State of New Mexico Department of Health pertaining to mass gatherings. Proposals must include the request for funding form that is available from the above referenced address between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on the web at www.edgewood-nm.gov. I will ask for a motion to approve this request for proposal.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the issuance of an RFP for lodgers tax.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Councilor Harmio.
I was just curious on this, who it is that would be bidding on this as far as providing police and fire protection. Who would that be?
I believe that would be the town.
Actually, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, if I may, it could be the town. It could be.
Oh, it could be someone else.
It could be someone else hosting another event somewhere else, and they're asking for our police and fire protection, or even like they wanted to bring in mounted patrol or something like that. It would just be for that, you know.
Yeah, if they want funding to provide police protection and sanitation services. In other words, if they're holding an event, there's going to be lots of people. They need sanitary services. They need to contract that. They need fire and police protection. They need to contract that. Or they need insurance, maybe, to insure their events. They need to contract that as well. So that would be my guess. Generally,
So the outside entities, such as the chamber, for example,
of course,
bids on this, and then the town could provide the services, and then does that get paid through? I'm just confused of how the money flows.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Adamio, if I may, so let's just say that the chamber put on an event where they requested police security protection. The chamber would enter into an agreement with our police, the county, some other agency, whichever one, and
state police.
They would provide an hourly rate, so many officers, so many hours, and then we would provide the service. They would pay the bill. They would basically pay the entity for the service, and then they would request the reimbursement of the town through the lodgers tax for the service.
Okay, so even like the facilities, what might that be? Tourism facilities owned by the municipality? What do you guys have in mind for that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Adamio, so that language was taken straight out of our ordinance, which was taken straight out of the state statute for the lodgers tax. Because some places, I guess Moriarty is a good example. They've got their community, or I guess, what do they call
Event facility.
Their event facility. And so if Edgewood were to have one, we would have that facility that could potentially be available. I think for more of this would be, I guess the big thing we have is the soccer field park right now. So if someone wanted to come do an event there.
Well, we also have the community center if they
center.
wanted to rent the community center or that kind of thing.
Or town hall, old town hall, maybe.
Something.
Okay.
I have questions about that too, so I reached out to Carla because I was confused. I thought we were applying for funding for projects, but she told me no.
No.
That's not what we are doing. And I did talk to a member of the Lodgers Board who said, you know, there's a very specific application they have to fill out and that they look at when they get ready to approve funds. So that was some questions that I had. I was confused too about what properties do we own and what could we be improving and all that kind of stuff. But I was made to understand that no, we're asking other people to apply for funding, and we may apply for it too, but at that point we would fill out this paperwork and it would come before council and stuff like that. The other question I had though when talking to them was that the Lodgers Tax Board hasn't been meeting, and so just are they waiting for this RFP to be issued before they do anything else, or what?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor, if I may. So we didn't really meet much last year because we were under COVID restrictions and outdoor events, you know, places of mass gathering were kind of not allowed, so or restricted, you know, severely in their numbers. So we didn't issue any RFPs or have the Lodgers Tax Board really get together. Now that the restrictions are starting to come out, we hope to proceed with regular meetings as scheduled.
Didn't we request some money for tents or something like that to help the restaurants?
We did. I don't have an answer for you of how many of our eating establishments took advantage of that. I don't know. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, if I may. So I believe all of our eating establishments had the same idea around the same time you guys had that, and they all procured their own tents. They all kind of had their own outdoor stuff before we even received our order in. We still do have the tents available, and you know they're there where the town does own them now. So in the future we can if we want to use them for whatever purpose we can.
Okay. All right. That was my only comment.
Okay, Council, we have a motion and a second to approve a request for proposal to the Town of Edgewood Lodgers Tax Fund. Council, how do you vote? Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We have an RFP for lodgers tax. Thank you, Council. Next is discussion, consideration, and action on the approval of the financials for the month of March 2021. Council, I will stand for a motion.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to approve the financials for the month of March 2021.
I will go ahead and second that. And Mr. Torres.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, Council.
Mr. Torres, if you will.
Okay, so one of the things you'll notice, and I have reached out to Mr. Monteith again to look into it, so he is going to look into it. I don't know if you've noticed, we've kind of hit this trend, this downward trend, and I can't really explain it. I'm not sure if someone's not reporting, if something, a code was switched when they switched us over to the new system, but we're down again. I mean, we're still $341,252.65. If we keep on this route, we're projected, you know, to end right around $5 million. But just the downtrend was kind of concerning, so I'm still waiting to hear back from him. And as soon as I do, I will let you guys know exactly what he said and if he found anything.
And Mr. Torres, I did see that it looks like, of course, some of the categories are changing, but as I looked at it, it looked interesting for food and medical distributions. You know, last year was 174,000 in April, and this year is only 82. And that, you know, maybe they moved something around, but that number, you know, is half of what it should be, especially because they're adding and internet distributions in this category. So it is very, seems like something is not right.
Something definitely seems amiss, and that's why we've started asking questions. This is the second period in a row that we've seen this strangeness, and it's disconcerting because the numbers should actually be equal or perhaps even a little higher.
And Mayor Pro Tem Council, also just something else to keep in mind. This is going to change again. Come, I guess, reporting wise, it'll change in July, and distribution wise, it'll change in September when they start adding internet tax for us. So
they'll separate it out.
I don't think they're going to separate it out. They're going to still put everything into this 601 and 602 category and 690 state share. Unfortunately, I wish they would have left it separate because we had ordinances and we had things that the town had earmarked for certain things, and they just kind of threw that all out and combined it. So we kind of have to go back in and find out what percentages we have, and then that's how we're still allocating the funds. Yeah, so keep in mind it's going to change again in 4 months, or 5 months. We'll see another change with the allocations. But yeah, so Councilor Aramijo, you're exactly right. That's right. My initial thought was maybe someone's not reporting, or like I was saying earlier, maybe when they were shifting things around, they moved someone's location code or something. Something's definitely changed for us to take that big hit. Because I think the internet sales tax distributions is approximately 6,000, 6,400, somewhere in there. And so that, like you said, if you take that out, we're even lower. So I don't know about you guys, but when I still drive by Smith's or Walmart, they're packed and, everyone's still shopping, so it doesn't make sense to me.
And prices are way up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, definitely. I did have a couple on the expense side. If you were done, Mr. Torres.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Okay. So, legal bills, where did you guys get with that? I know that you've been asking since last year, and I know Mayor Pro Tem, you were going to get to the bottom of it. So, what's the news on our legal bills?
They will be forthcoming on our next council report.
Is there a reason?
They were not paid in this period.
No, I mean, is there a reason they were not paid in this period?
We didn't receive them in time to get them in this period.
I know, but is there a reason why we haven't been receiving them? What did they tell you?
That they didn't say one way or the other. We made the request and we got them. So they're here. They will be coming forward in our next council report.
Okay, thank you very much. The other one was, I marked the page, water truck repair. Just wanted to know it was $2,815. Wanted to know what that was for.
Yes, Mayor Council. So on our old Kenworth water truck, the clutch went out. So that was the repair to have the clutch rebuilt.
Okay.
I have a question again. Are you finished, Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I have a question on Bohannon, Houston. We keep getting these task orders for roadway design. How much is that project anticipated to cost? How much have we spent thus far? And if it's going to keep going up, I mean, we seem to spend $5,000, over $5,000 every month. And, throughout the year, that's over $60,000. Why didn't we go out for RFP?
Mayor Council, so the short answer to your question with the RFP is they're one of our on-call engineers. They're contracted. We have an general on-call agreement, so that's why we can issue task orders with them.
Right.
don't recall offhand, Mayor Pro Tem Abrams, do you remember what the total amount was for the road design standards?
I don't remember the total amount, but I know it was nowhere near 60,000.
Okay.
I don't.
Because I am concerned. I don't remember us having an RFP where we chose four or five or however many, or we chose maybe just Bohannon Houston to do all of our engineering. I know that was one of the biggest complaints that Carla used to say about Dennis Engineering, was that we had all these task orders. And they were also our engineering firm. So I'm just concerned that these task orders might be getting a little out of control, and maybe we need to go out for RFP for an engineering firm.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, if I may. So we have Sauter Miller working on the Edgewood 7 trail design plan. We have Horrocks, who did the Church Street design. Bohannon Houston actually won. So aside from our on-call engineering, the MBR facility improvements, they actually won that RFP for the wastewater treatment plant. So that's why they kind of have a little bit more work than the others with respect to the wastewater treatment plant. They've won that plan for the screens and for the design on the facilities. But the other stuff, the pedestrian bridge, they were assigned that one a while back. And then the roadway task orders, we figured since they did the survey of our roads, it would just kind of make sense that they know our roads better to have them do that. But no, we are utilizing our other on-call engineers as well.
Right, but my concern is with using all these different on-call engineers, it's hard to keep track of how much we're actually spending on engineering on multiple different projects. It's really hard to keep track of that. And be able to hold anything accountable. So I'm just concerned about the amount of money we're paying on engineering fees when we seem to never actually complete a project.
Any other comments on the bills?
Just to put a question to rest in my mind on that. So Councilor Abraham said that we're spending about $5,000 a month on the to Bohannon Houston for the roadways. What are they doing? And why is it just slowly over time?
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, if I may.
Go ahead.
So they're working on. So we had resolution 2012. I don't remember the number, which actually asked for us to get roadway design standards. And so we're doing that. And what they're looking into is, so right now, the only road design standards we have is the little blurb in our subdivision ordinance. So this is going to create its own, basically the town's own set of rules for roadways. And then it's going to update. I think we're going to look to update the other ordinances with it as well. I don't think, it hasn't been going on too long. We didn't sign the agreement with Mayor Pro Tem.
I thought it was 30,000.
That seems to be something I recall as well, but I don't know what the actual total is right off the top of my head. I'd have to go back through my records and find the numbers. But we do definitely need road standards and trail standards. That's something that's kind of been a stumbling block for us in the past. I seem to remember several discussions in past councils with regard to, well, what are we really going to do? What's the design going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. And we've ended up with a bunch of different things in different areas of the town. This will consolidate the idea of what we need and what we want to do with our roads and our trails, which will, I think, be a very big benefit to the town and everybody in it and into the future. But we are talking about the bills for this month. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Jaramillo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Hawley, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. And we move on to the next item on the agenda. Public comment regarding general matters. And we will do this as we did with comment on our districting plan. Caller number 4, please identify yourself and if you would like to comment this evening.
Sean Glackman, and yes, I'd like to comment.
Yes, Mr. Glackman, please go right ahead.
Yes, I have a question for Councillor Abraham on saying that she's representing the town of Edgewood and calling up other people when she actually lives in Albuquerque in the area of Macomb and Constitution. I want to know how you are representing the town of Edgewood when you are a City of Albuquerque resident.
I'm not a City of Albuquerque resident. I have a residence in the City of Albuquerque. I am the caretaker of my mother, and I also maintain a residence in the town of Edgewood to be able to fulfill the term of office that I have taken. So I explained all of this to ex-Mayor Bassett back in August of 2019, and he seemed content with my situation to care for my aged mother who's on hospice. And that is how I continue to represent the town of Edgewood.
I don't think you're representing a fair part of the town of Edgewood. When you live in Albuquerque on a full-time basis, you don't even live in the town of Edgewood.
That is your opinion. I do have maintained a residence in the town of Edgewood since 2009, and I will continue to maintain a residence in the town of Edgewood.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Glackman. Caller number 6, please identify yourself and if you wish to comment.
Yes, this is Martha Eden.
Yes,
And I just want to say that the audio of this meeting was the best since the pandemic started. I understood every word that was said. It was really, really helpful. Thank you very much. I think we have Jesus to thank for that, and it's an extraordinarily improved system. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Eden. Practice does make perfect. Caller number 8. Caller number 8, identify yourself if you would. And yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. It's Karen Kaiser again. Just 2 quick comments, if I may. I was so impressed with this extremely well-qualified, interesting police officer that you hired this evening. And I hope he sets a bar for the kind of applicants that we consider. You know, not these people that stay on jobs 3 months, 2 months. I read the man's resume and history, and he has longevity. It's some fascinating places of employment in New York City, but also with Santa Fe County, and just A+, a really high caliber candidate. And I think that's all that Edgewood deserves, and I hope that's all that we consider going forward. But he is a very impressive addition to our force. The second thing I wanted to just quickly comment on is thank you that there's going to be legal bills after, what are we up to, 8 or 9 months now? And I bet I'd expect a big 6-figure number with all the litigation and all the attorneys sitting in the meetings. But Mayor Pro Tem, since, if I'm correct, I think you act as CEO, as strong mayor, until we transition to the new form of government. And I beg of you to require that law firm to follow their contract. Right in their contract, it says every month you will get a detailed and prompt billing, because it's got us too out of balance. We are going to be paying expenses incurred in September, October, November, and December of 2020 in May of 2021, and that's not good enough. And if you would tell them to do what their contract says, I think they would listen to you, sir, because of the position you hold. So I hope that you will make them honor the terms of their own contract. And thank you for solving it, at least. I look forward to seeing those in the second meeting of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Caller number 9. Is that where we're at? Is caller number 9? Caller number 9? I'm not hearing anyone at caller number 9. We'll go ahead and move on. Caller number 10, if you could identify yourself and your comment this evening, if you have one. Caller number 12. Caller number 12, are you there? I hear no one at caller number 12. Caller number 13. Hello?
No comment.
Okay, thank you, caller number 13. Caller number 15.
Hi, this is Linda Burke. I would just like to say kudos on the improved video and audio. It made for a much better experience trying to keep track of what was happening in the meeting. And kudos to the council for a very efficient and cordial meeting tonight. That also made it more pleasant. And I really appreciate all of the productivity that you were able to get through in a relatively short period of time. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Caller number 16. Caller number 16?
No comment.
Thank you, caller 16. Caller number 17.
Cheryl Hubbard.
Yes, Ms. Hubbard.
I would just like to repeat what Linda Burke said. It was a good meeting this evening. The video was better. I was glad to see that the councilors were able to agree on Plan A. That's very good. And I hope that things will start to go a little better in our council meetings.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbards. I don't see anyone else, so we will move on to matters from the councilors. Councilor Jaramillo.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just wanted to thank the public again for all of your participation and comments, and let you know that I really do appreciate hearing from you so that we know how to vote and how to represent you well. So thank you. I did want to announce there's a community forum tomorrow evening, I believe, Thursday, April 29th at 6:30 p.m. Edgewood Public Forum, put on by the Citizens for an Open and Responsible Edgewood. The forum is at Legacy Church. There are in-person seats, and you can also watch the stream online, is what it says here. And I think it's another opportunity for the public to just give feedback and talk and have a forum. So I think it's going to be a great event, almost like a town hall. So just wanted to announce that. Then also, I'm happy to announce also some of the legislative funding that we received, and we had asked, or I guess I talked to the representatives, but collectively over time we've been asking for these things, and we received $50,000 in youth programming in the previous year, which was put toward, I believe, the wireless and maybe some other programs that had existed at that time. This year, however, we have $50,000 in youth and community programming again. So yay. I want to thank our Senator Schmiedes and Representatives McQueen and Lord for that, and also $151,000 on Echo Ridge Park, because that's a project that definitely needs to continue and be completed. And then $50,000 on planning, improving, and supplying for the community garden at the senior center. So that was another area that I thought needed some attention as well. And I know community gardening through First Choice. I attended one of their meetings down in the valley before COVID, and that was one of the initiatives for our community even way back then. So I know Miss Holly, Councillor Holly, has been reporting on the gardening and the other website events coming up. So I'm sure she'll do the same this evening. But I'm really glad to see that we have some of that money coming into the town. And on youth programming, I will definitely circle back again with the town administration, and hopefully we can get something on a future agenda for decisions on what to do with the money, and have a good plan for that. I did notice that Moriarty received the same funding, and so that's good news for them as well. I always think of collaboration with the school district, so we'll circle back to that again, and just see what we can do for our kiddos, and keeping them active and occupied with great healthy things. So I think that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jaramillo. Councillor Abraham.
Oh, you're on mute, Councillor Abraham.
The most pressing issue that I have come across is there was a fire out in what is now District 4 last weekend, and we did hear, the fire trucks and all that stuff going out there, and it was a shed apparently that caught fire and burned some area out there by Skyline Road. But luckily the volunteer fire department and the Santa Fe Fire Department and all those rushed out there and got that under control right away. So there was no extreme damage as it could have been, because it was a very windy day. But I have had folks in that neighborhood reach out to me and ask, I know we follow Santa Fe County's fire ban, and they wanted me to look into that and see where that's at for this year because of the extreme drought. They think we need to enact something now rather than waiting for 4th of July or for fireworks to come out. So I just wanted to bring that up and see, is there something we can do if Santa Fe County doesn't issue the ban? I think, we're in extreme danger down here from fires. So, any feedback on that? Any ideas?
I'll go ahead and comment on that during my portion, but I do know what's going on with that, and I'll be happy to discuss that. Do you have anything else, Councillor Abraham?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Councillor Holly.
Okay, as most of you know, I am a board member on the First Choice Community Health Care Clinic, and I would just like to give a shout out to that group because First Lady Jill Biden visited the facility in the South Valley last Wednesday with our Governor Lujan Grisham. And for those that you may not know, the facility is a nonprofit qualified health center that has been administering COVID-19 vaccines. And a White House spokesperson said that Jill Biden had wanted to highlight the critical work of COVID-19 vaccination centers and the administration's efforts to ensure that all Americans can get vaccinated. First Choice has been doing outreach to encourage community members to register for vaccinations. And our governor said that the medical center was an excellent example of why New Mexico is getting many communities vaccinated. So I wanted to give a shout out, like I said, to that jewel that we've got in our community. I was just real proud to be part of that group and have the First Lady come and visit us last week. And the other reminder I wanted to share this evening was about the Arbor Day drive-through tree seedling giveaway at Town Hall. This will happen this Friday, April 30th, starting at 9 a.m. And there is a limit of 2 per household, and it's a first-come, first-served, while supplies last basis. So hope to see you guys come by and get busy planting and make us green. We need water to help with that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawley. As I was saying a little earlier, there is information. The county has passed and is enforcing a burn ban, and that was passed in conjunction with the longevity of the public health orders. So as the public health orders still stand, so does the ban on burning in Santa Fe County. And that will stand until those public health orders are modified, removed, or otherwise, or the county says something with regard to that order. So we are currently under a burn ban. My guess is that we will continue to be under that ban for quite some time still. We are definitely making headway, and I heard from the governor's office just recently that changes are being considered for the health order. So we'll see what happens with that in about a month or so. I believe that the next review of that health order would be the end of May, beginning of June. So we'll see if there's a change, and if there is, then I'm certain that Santa Fe County will issue their changes as necessary. But the continued burn ban is absolutely necessary. We still are in extreme drought, and we will continue to be in extreme drought for quite some time. The fire that was mentioned was across the Torrance County line. I do believe that some of our volunteers went to help put that out. There was some concern because it happened late in the afternoon that it would burn through the night, and luckily they were able to stop it and go back and mop up all the hot spots and make sure that things didn't catch and continue. We were lucky, very lucky. The people in the southern part of New Mexico are experiencing something quite considerably different right now. I'm sure you've seen the news and what's going on down by Ruidoso. The next thing on the agenda, really, I don't have a whole lot of anything else. Councillor Hawley covered the stuff that I was going to talk about with trees. Please come and get your trees. The tree giveaway will be happening very shortly, and I hope everyone takes advantage of that and plants lots of little trees. I know we're going to have a problem with water this summer. I know that talking with farmers in the valley that they're having problems getting their allocations on the ditches. So we're going to see some interesting things this summer. It's going to be very, very dry. So I hope everyone works on getting their combustibles away from their homes and keeping down weeds, etc. Yes, Councillor Abraham.
I just wanted to see, since we are under the fire ban, can we put out the signs that we sometimes put out, around town saying, there is a fire ban and extreme drought conditions? Maybe have it on
we can certainly
the electronic sign.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I think that's not a bad idea at all.
All right, thank you.
I haven't seen anybody burning anything in several years, so thankfully. We'll move on, and matters from the clerk treasurer. Mr.
Yes.
Torres.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, so I would like to just thank all the town staff and the community who participated in the community cleanup. The dumpsters were filled, and it was a successful event. Hopefully, the last one will be removed so we can open up the gates at the park by tomorrow. So, we are opening it up during the day, but closing it at night until all the dumpsters are removed. But it was a good event. I'm glad we have this program going. Hopefully, we can continue with it. I also wanted to let everyone know about the CD1 early voting. Will start May 4th, which is next week, and it'll go. The last day will be early voting will be on May 29th. All of the voting is going to be at the Edgewood Municipal Building. It will not be at Santa Fe County Clerk's office. It will all be here. I believe everyone should have received who's qualified to vote in it should have received their absentee request. If not, don't worry. You can always come in. There's in-person same-day registration to submit a new voter registration form or update and cast your ballot. So that will be available here starting Tuesday, May 4th, and early voting will continue. Basically, the last day will be May 29th, and then, of course, Election Day, June 1st, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Here in the Town Council chambers. That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Next item is calendar review. Our next regular council meeting will be May 12th at the same bat time, same bat station. I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I will second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, council. Have a very good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
This conference is no longer being recorded.